Here's how you find out exactly what you're paying on almost any annuity. In this video, I'm going to help you find the annual fees on your annuity. We're going to find some percentage numbers, and at the end, I'll show you how to do some quick math with those numbers to get a rough estimate of your annual fees in dollars. You're going to walk away feeling smarter and more knowledgeable about what you either already own or are considering buying. I'm going to move through this relatively quick because people will have different comfort levels finding fees. You'll benefit most from this video if you don't currently have access to your annuity contract. I recommend watching through the full video one time before trying to follow along. Feel free to pause as you need to if I get ahead of you. So first, you're going to want to grab a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook, or open Word or Notepad on your computer to jot things down. You want to grab a statement for your annuity that looks something like this, and look somewhere at the top for the name of the contract. It could be here somewhere in the top left, or it could be here somewhere more towards the middle of the contract. Keep that name handy and write it down, and also make note of the issue date of the contract. If you don't have a statement, statements typically come in the mail on a quarterly basis, or they're available online through the annuity company's portal. Just a pro tip on finding the name of the annuity contract if you're still struggling to do that. Product names often have catchy sounding buzzwords like secure, Premier, Flex, or Ascend, or even Intelligent. Sometimes the product name will end with the words variable annuity, but not always. You can also use this to find the fees on a registered index-linked annuity, also known as a RILA. But we're going to do this with a variable annuity because it is arguably the most complicated type of annuity with the most layers of fees. So part one, find the fees. We're going to open our old friend Google or your preferred search engine. This is where you're going to want the name of your contract, so make sure to reference your statement or the notes you took with the name of it. So back to the search engine, you're going to want to type in the name of your annuity company plus the name of your annuity type plus the word prospectus, and then press enter to search. And you'll see a result like this. Depending on the search engine, it might have the word PDF next to the result, which is a good indicator that you're on the right track. So we're going to click on that and open it up. So with the prospectus open, you're now going to hit Control F to search, or if you're on an Apple, I think you're going to hit Command F. I don't know. I don't actually use Apples. And a search bar is going to appear in the top left corner or the top right corner. Type in the word fee, and if it doesn't automatically search, press enter if you have to start the search. And just to give you a warning, you might see a lot of fees, but it doesn't mean you're actually paying for each one of them. So it's going to find the very first time the word fee appears in the document, and you're going to want to skip the very first one or two of them. It'll probably bring you to a table of contents or somewhere close to that first. But just to give you an idea of how I would look through this to find the fees, in this result, I can see that table of contents clearly has additional information about fees, which I can just click directly on. So we're going to want to click that, and it'll take us to this part of the document. So my eyes go straight to annual contract expenses. So we'll start with $50, which according to this handy little footnote is a fee I only pay if my contract is worth less than $50,000. We'll just say that's waived, so no contract charge. Next we can see core contract charge of 1%. Footnote says it's reduced in these specific cases. So we'll just say it's 1% and we'll write down 1%. I will also say that in my searching, I noticed that on page 3, it says it's 1.02%. If a client was concerned about the 0.02% difference, I would call the company to find out why, or I'd look in their physical annuity contract, which they would have received after buying the annuity. So we're continuing our search. And next we can see these add-on benefit expenses. And this is where you're going to need to refer back to your statement. Your statement is going to tell you if you have these add-ons or riders. Scan the front page of the statement. Sometimes they're towards the middle or the bottom. Whether you have these add-on benefits depends simply on whether your advisor included them in the contract when you signed off on it. Let's assume we have an earnings protection benefit, which is basically just a fancy death benefit. If you're wondering how I know that, I searched for earnings protection benefit and found the purpose on page 7. So we'll jot down 0.7%. No, wait, we won't. That says maximum charge. So FYI, insurance companies can raise their fees up to a maximum percentage approved by state insurance departments. That doesn't mean that's what you're currently paying. So finding what you're actually paying could be a little bit trickier. You might have to scroll around a little bit. I found on page 3 where it says optional benefits for an additional charge, there's a link that says rate sheet supplement prospectus. So I'm going to click that. And right here on page 1, as of April 2025, they are charging 0.35%. So that's what I'm going to write down. Then we're going to click that back button, So we're not done yet. Next, we're going to look for fund fees since this is a variable annuity. There's the main contract charges, there's rider charges, and then there's also fund fees for the actual investments inside of it that you hold. Take a look at your statement and see if you can find a fund with a name something like this. It might have the word allocation or strategic or moderate or conservative or aggressive or stock or bond or some word like that. If it shows multiple, write down the name of each fund and each dollar amount that each fund has next to it. So back to the prospectus, we're going to hit Control F and we're going to use the search term fund fee. Here we can see there's a link to click that will take us to fund expenses in a separate document. So we're going to hit Control F again, and we're going to search for the name of the fund that you wrote down from your statement. So right here, we can see current expenses of 2.22% per year. Ouch, that's a little high. With a footnote, and always check the footnote, the fund's expenses reflect temporary fee reductions. How temporary? I tried searching for it and the footnote was the only result, so you got me. Part 2, calculate the fees. So with these exact percentages, we can get a rough idea of what we're paying in total each year. I say rough because some of the calculations are based off of daily investment values that fluctuate, well, pretty much daily. So we'll pull up a calculator, and we know from our notes that our total fees are 1% for the core contract, 0.35% for the rider, and 2.22% for the fee. So that's a total of 3.57% per year. So let's assume we're working with a $250,000 contract, and you're assuming that it's going to be $250,000 at the end of the year. You can take $250,000 and multiply that by 3.57%. If your calculator doesn't have a percent key, just take 3.57 and divide it by 100. With that number times 250,000, we get $8,925 approximately per year, which will fluctuate as market values fluctuate. Of course, if you want to break this down further and you want to know what you're paying for each layer of fees, you can take 250,000 times 1%, get $2,500. You can take 250,000 times 0.35% and get $875. You can take 250,000 times 2.22% and get $5,500. Big ouch, by the way. I can't think of any fund that is worth that annual fee. Part 3, what else to consider? So here's just some additional things to know. One is your fees will change if you change funds. Usually insurance companies let you switch funds inside of an annuity a certain amount of times per year. After that, they'll impose an additional fee of like $25 or something. So you might be allowed to switch funds 4 times per year max. Also keep surrender charges in mind if you withdraw too much too soon after buying the contract. You can find information about fees in your annuity by looking inside the contract you would have received when you bought it. Depending how long ago you bought it, this would have been in paper format, although since the pandemic, a lot of companies have started sending digital copies. If you don't have it, you can call the company and ask for a replacement. Just be aware that sometimes they charge a fee to replace your contract. If you own a fixed annuity or immediate annuity, it's unlikely that you're paying annual fees, except possibly surrender charges if you're making withdrawals from a fixed annuity. If you own a fixed indexed annuity, you may or may not be paying fees. Other ways to know what you're paying for your annuity. So if you don't want to do all that work, you can ask AI. But here's what I would say about using AI. A lot of people say when it comes to using AI, trust but verify. I disagree with that in this case. I say verify first and then trust. For example, I typed, what are the fees for the Elite Access annuity? And it told me the fees were 0.85% for M&E, 0.15% for administrative, and 1% for the core contract charge. Quick note, M&E stands for Mortality and Expense and is the most common name for the main expense in variable annuities. But what AI doesn't know is that the core contract charge is not additional on top of those. So AI may mislead you into thinking you're paying more or less. Before you use AI, I would honestly just call the company directly. There's a phone number for the service department on your statement, or it would be in the original contract, or you can just do a Google search. When you call them, tell them you want to know exactly what all of your fees are. Common fee types are in the description below. I hope you found this video helpful. If you're worried you're paying too much for your annuity, or you just want help knowing what you're paying, reach out to us at the email in our description, and we'll play detective together and find out. Thanks again for watching today. Please like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Looking forward to helping out with more retirement content soon.